Good morning, my name is Jade and today we will be looking at the concept of colonisation. I will be using a landscape painting named Big Industry made by Indigenous artist Black Douglas within his National Anthem gallery to illustrate this concept. The concept of colonisation being explored in this video resonates with the colonisation of Indigenous Australians by European settlers. The word colonisation is often replaced with praise of Captain James Cook for his discovery of the Australian soil. Neil Harrison and Juanita Selwood divulge into the problems with teaching students this knowledge, rather than going into depth and explaining Indigenous Australians were on this land long before and had to suffer through the invasion of their country. As shown in the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies Handbook and Australian Professional Standards for Teachers Criteria 1.4, it is crucial for students to learn about Indigenous culture, whether they are Indigenous or not. Within the Teaching Standard 1.4, it is explained clearly that teachers must provide students with the knowledge of Indigenous history. It is further shown through the handbook that this history includes knowledge of the invasion and colonisation of Indigenous Australia, rather than the discovery. Throughout the handbook, pre-service teachers are shown examples of how to bring diversity and inclusivity into the classroom, therefore acknowledging the cultural history of Indigenous Australians and the history of how they were unlawfully colonised and invaded. As we can see, the colonisation of Australia has played a huge role in how the country is running today. Indigenous Australian artist Black Douglas, born in Western Sydney, is the son of an Aboriginal man and an Australian woman. He became self-practiced in his art form of painting, inspired by social justice. This art form is appropriate to Douglas as he expresses his feelings through the work he produces on canvas. His piece of art, Big Industry, in the gallery titled National Anthem, shown on the screen at the moment, is filled with the burning notion and concept of colonisation and the impacts it has had on Australia and the Indigenous communities. Without the notion that Douglas has painted this, it is clear to tell it is an Indigenous art piece, as the colours of the brown and red soil, the burning sun, the red background and the slim tree trunks represent how the Indigenous community is viewed. The top half of Australia, mainly the Northern Territory and the Indigenous Desert, is shown on the painting and is labelled "For Lease". It is easily interpreted that with the combination of the label and the title of the painting being Big Industry, that Douglas and many other Indigenous Australians feel the country and their culture are exploited to the tourism industry and are merely a ploy for the contemporary preconceptions tourists have of Indigenous colonisation. Throughout this video, it is seen that the colonisation of Australia has had impacts on Indigenous Australians throughout their school years, continuing into adulthood. It is shown through academic sources such as the Professional Teaching Standards, the Indigenous Handbook, the course textbook and journal articles that Indigenous culture is merely respected for the tourist industry attributes rather than taught about and respected through education. I hope that by referring to these sources and showing an example of artist Black Douglas's work where he expresses these feelings, you're well informed of not only the effects European colonisation has had on these communities, but the effect tourism industries and education systems continue to have. Thank you for watching.